Have you ever watched your whole world collapse through a gap in a doorway? I never thought I would, but on a Tuesday that felt like any other, I stood in the shadow of our hallway, listening. The bedroom door was open just a crack, a sliver of light cutting through the darkness, and on the other side was my wife, Clara. Her voice was a low murmur, a tone I hadn't heard in years, soft and intimate. It wasn't for me. The faint blue glow of her phone screen painted a ghostly light on her face as she whispered his name. I didn't know who he was, not yet. All I knew was the chilling certainty that the woman I had built my life with was meticulously taking it apart, piece by piece, right in front of me. I saw her walking with him in my mind's eye before I ever saw them in person, and she had no idea I was standing right there, listening to it all begin. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from, what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The strange behavior had started subtly, like a slow poison. It was the little things. Her phone, once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now her constant companion, clutched in her hand or buried deep in her purse. She started working late, blaming new projects at the law firm in downtown Chicago, where she was a junior partner. "Big case, Ethan," she'd say, waving a dismissive hand, her eyes already distant. You wouldn't understand the pressure. We lived in a quiet suburb, Lincoln Park, a place of brick townhouses and tree-lined streets, a life we had chosen for its stability. But a tremor was running through it. Receipts from expensive restaurants on Rush Street I'd never been to. Credit card statements with charges for rooms at the Langham, a place we only went for anniversaries. When I asked, her answers were smooth, practiced. Client dinners, honey, networking. She'd tilt her head, a gesture that once seemed endearing, now felt like a calculated performance. She was becoming a stranger in our home, her laughter brittle, her touch fleeting. The warmth we once shared had evaporated, replaced by a chilling, manipulative coldness. She and her unseen partner felt untouchable, wrapped in a bubble of arrogance and deceit, while I was left on the outside, the fool who paid the mortgage. The night I finally broke was after a company dinner she claimed she had. I'd called the restaurant to have a bottle of champagne sent to her table. A surprise. The hostess was confused. "We don't have a reservation for that firm tonight, sir." The lie was so simple, so blatant. I sat in our living room, the city lights of Chicago twinkling miles away, and I felt a profound crack in my soul. The humiliation was a physical weight. That was the moment the loyal, loving husband died. Something else, something colder and far more strategic, began to stir in the wreckage. My grief turned to ice, then to steel. The first step was hiring a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Frank, who operated out of a dusty office on the West Loop. I gave him a name, Marcus, plucked from a forgotten email left open on her laptop. Subject line was "Tonight." The message was one line: "Can't wait. Same place." Frank was brutally efficient. Within a week, I had a manila envelope full of photographs. Claire and Marcus, a slick-looking finance guy, leaving the Langham, his arm draped possessively around her. Them laughing in a secluded booth at a dimly lit bar in the Gold Coast. The images were a knife to the gut, but I forced myself to look, to absorb every detail. This was my fuel now. I opened a new bank account, quietly moving my savings. I met with a shark of a divorce attorney, a woman named Ms. Albright, whose reputation was legendary. I laid out the photos on her polished mahogany desk. "I want to be prepared," I told her, my voice steady. "I want everything." She gave me a grim, knowing smile. Let's get to work. The trap was set. Clara's birthday was approaching, and she was planning a lavish party at our home, a celebration of her success, a monument to her ego. It was the perfect stage. I played the part of the doting husband, helping with the guest list, tasting cakes, smiling until my face ached. Inside, I was a machine, ticking down the seconds. The day of the party, our house was filled with her colleagues, our friends, our family. Clara was radiant, floating through the crowd in a ridiculously expensive dress. Accepting praise, the queen in her castle. Marcus was there, of course, introduced as a new colleague. He shook my hand, his grip firm, his eyes filled with a smug pity. He thought I was a fool, had no idea he was a dead man walking. I waited until the toasts began. Clara's father, a proud, booming man, stood to say a few words. As he finished, I raised my glass. "I'd also like to make a toast," I said, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. All eyes were on me. I saw a flicker of annoyance in Clara's face. I walked to the large screen we'd set up to display a slideshow of her life. "I have a little surprise for the birthday girl." I clicked a button on my laptop. The first image that filled the screen wasn't a baby picture. It was a high-resolution photo of Clara and Marcus, kissing passionately outside the Langham, the date and time stamped in the corner. A collective gasp went through the room. I clicked again. Another photo, this one of them entering a hotel room. Then another and another. Emails, texts, hotel receipts. An entire, meticulously documented history of her betrayal, projected for everyone to see. Clara's face went from shock to ashen white. Marcus looked like he'd been shot. I turned to face her, my expression unreadable. "Happy birthday, Clara." The aftermath was a firestorm. Her father stared at her with utter disgust. Her colleagues backed away as if she were contagious. Marcus tried to slip out, but I'd hired private security to ensure no one left. The next morning, Ms. Albright filed for divorce, citing adultery with the mountain of evidence attached. Clara was fired from her firm for conduct unbecoming. Her friends abandoned her. Her family disowned her. She was ruined, socially and professionally. The legal battle was short and brutal. She got nothing. The house, the savings, it was all protected. I sold the house in Lincoln Park, the place that held so many ghosts. I moved to a sterile, modern apartment in River North, with a view of the cold, indifferent Chicago River. Sometimes late at night I think about her, not with anger, not anymore. Just a quiet, hollow ache. The revenge was perfect, but it burned my own life down to the foundations to get it. It's a cold comfort, knowing you've won a war that nobody else even knew you were fighting. The end.